There's enough people in the room that let's go live. So you're good. You're good to go. And all right, I will apologize ahead of time for doing this from phone. I had to run out of the office, so I didn't print my materials before I got here. But hey, it's good. I didn't print them, right? This is a special meeting of the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. It is August 7th at 12:30. We are in room 119B, which is not our normal venue, but we're happy to be here. We're also happy to have with us the first selectman, Jamie, has come by because we are on the verge of filing our application with Sustainable CT. I want to thank everybody for allowing me to move this meeting a week earlier. It was entirely selfish because I'm on vacation next week. And I wanted to make sure we had another full meeting before we file. We don't have a quorum of members, so we won't be voting on any actions, but we'll continue the meeting. We also have with us Kendra Beaver, who is one of our summer fellows from Sustainable CT, and Kendra, along with Chadwick Schroeder, have been really instrumental as guides for us through this process, giving us advice on individual action items, but also doing their best to keep us organized on the big picture. So here's a hearty public thank you from the Advisory Committee on Sustainability for your efforts. I can legitimately say we would not be in this position without having had your help.
My pleasure.
And
I
so,
second that. I know we can't vote.
we don't have minutes. Terry's not here. I did not hear from him prior to this, so we'll have to push that off to next month, which then goes right to item 2 on our agenda, which is to review our Sustainable CT strategy. And maybe Kathy, since you are our linchpin, we have, speaking of linchpin, Mike Lynch just came in. Thank you very much for coming. We were just about to kind of run through our Sustainable CT action items and see where we are on each. And your assistant might be necessary with one as we get down the list. But Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, so I have compared the actual online application to the notes we've been taking with Kendra, double checking every step of the way. And as background, in order to submit the application and be eligible for certification, you must complete items in 8 categories, 9 categories, including the equity action at the end. And then there's a 10th category which does offer actions that are not within the first set of 72 that you choose from. And in order to be certified, you must reach 200 points covering all categories but the 10th. As of now, but per our own application, we have completed actions in all categories, although 8.1 is still, the 8th category, it's still in process.
It's not complete.
And we have 240 points, which puts us over the bar for certification. For bronze, we are not at a level that we could be applying for silver certification this year.
I suppose there is always a risk that when finally judged, we may not secure all the points that we're asking for.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And in most categories, not all, but with the exception of 2 categories, I believe, we are submitting multiple action items per category, which would mean that
We have a better chance of getting full points.
If one is excluded, there's still another to fulfill. Action category 1 and 8, we are only submitting 1 action, and we believe those are okay based on working with Sustainable CT. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items that are in process.
Let's take those one by one.
Yeah, so we just need to go through them one by one. If we'll go bottom to top, 9,
Yep.
because 9.1 we were able to submit 9.1A and 9.1B. B is done and submitted. A is written and has been reviewed and will be uploaded to the application.
And just for everybody's, those are the
Equity toolkit.
Yeah, the 9 is the inclusive and equitable community impacts, and the completing
And those had to do with,
And what were our two?
including 91B, both are, they're meant to include a larger percentage of your community in actions that you're taking. A was providing permits to the recycling center for folks that had specific identified needs that could not participate in food waste composting, the swap shop and the like. And B was in working with Senior Center, Human Services, and At Home in Darien to provide transportation to the farmers market, which is a sustainable event.
Great.
So those have been written and should be uploaded. To go backwards, we'll go 8.1 since we're going backwards.
That's fine. So yeah, 8.1 I'll take is the design and implement a housing needs assessment. We have the support of the town planner, Jeremy Ginsberg, helping us complete that item. He has completed the first draft of the housing needs assessment, received some comments from Kendra. I assume he will be incorporating those comments, and I believe we have a meeting scheduled with the Board of Selectmen for 10 days from now, Monday.
Okay.
That's what I've been told.
Haven't seen that agenda yet. So.
Okay. So hopefully, but you are having a meeting on that Monday, the
19th is what's
the
listed?
19th, is it? Yeah, the 19th. The meeting is a key.
Yes, we're having a meeting on
Great.
the 19th.
Presenting the result of Jeremy's housing needs assessment at a public meeting is a requirement to get points on the action item. So we are looking forward to being on the agenda because we need to have that meeting before August 30th. So it's good to have a deadline.
A question on that is that also going to be presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission?
At some point, but I don't think they're having another meeting before
I see.
September.
Okay, great.
So I think it's a good idea. And I can follow up with Jeremy on that as well. That was our first choice, but
Yep.
it's a meeting. So we feel, go ahead.
Yeah, so after the 19th, Craig can work with Jeremy
To actually get it.
to take
uploaded.
the information,
Yes.
upload it to the application.
Yeah, we'll have the agenda from the meeting, proof of notice of the meeting, and then the actual worksheets. And we'll upload those with the proper documentation.
And that would fulfill the requirement for an action in category 8, which
Okay.
is the,
That's
gets
our-
back to that date.
That's our weak point.
That's our
Yeah.
Then going back, one that we've been working on in the area of physical infrastructure and operations was item 6.1, benchmarking and tracking energy use, which we thought would be pretty easy
Because we thought we
given
were doing it.
that we're doing that. But
Mike, those were the missing matrix I sent to you. I had
Yes.
generated the reports on Portfolio Manager, and then I got a response back on Portfolio Manager by Lynn Stoddard, but no way to communicate with her. So that's what I printed off to you, that
Right.
was 2017. I tried to go back in and regenerate the reports, so I really think I need a conversation with Lynn if you have her email.
Yeah, absolutely, I will
Because
provide that.
I'm not sure where we're falling
Well,
down.
what,
Yeah.
I don't know, what I did was I went in, to portfolio manager, and I said, well, let me try the oil. And I printed 2-page summary, 3 years worth of oil deliveries, every single one of them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what's being missed. So,
I'm not
I
sure
didn't, I
where
didn't
we'll-
go any further, but I did oil because,
Some of this was 2017.
I know, I went in and I did 16, 17, 17,
Okay.
we haven't gone back to 2009.
And when
So
Ken,
we have them all.
I know, when Ken and I were doing it, we don't know if the tank was half full when they got the delivery. We don't know, so he was not confident on the oil data, because it's by date you purchase it, so we're not sure.
Yeah, but that relates to when we were trying to, kind of segregate the season or the year
Right.
that the oil was for. I'm imagining this should just be, are we logging the data? you know, I'm guessing.
Well,
But-
again, if I could speak with.
Yeah, I will be
Lynn,
So Lynn is
her
at-
response, yeah.
Lynn is at Sustainable CT.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
and,
the director.
and that's who
Yeah,
it said
so-
on the, who the reports are being submitted to.
Okay.
And then she would respond back to the reports that were generated. And there was a webinar on how to do it, and I watched
So
that.
we have to
I went
specifically find out what Lynn thinks is lacking.
Right,
And
right.
so when we have kind
And
of
if I
a
have to
specific
go-
list, we'll work together to.
Right,
make sure
and
we
the other
cover
thing
it.
I had checked was that when we set this up, the guy Ken,
Yes.
he had access, we gave him the codes.
And
He had access to our portfolio manager, he kept insisting he didn't need it, and I kept insisting that he take it.
Uh-huh,
Yeah, yeah.
And he did, and he was able to provide me this.
Yeah, so that should
Okay.
be able, it should be able,
I know, I'm not sure what the disconnect between.
I'm not sure
sample
either,
CT
because we went
and
through,
the-
and like I said, I just did the oil, cause I
Right.
was like, you know, when we take our reports, that's how I budget, because the town wants to know what my use is.
Right.
How much oil you're gonna use
And
next year.
how much I'm gonna use next, right, so I use portfolio manager, so,
Yeah.
and the amounts are accurate year to year, so I know it's there.
Yeah.
Right, so I don't know why when I generated the
I don't
report it
either.
came out missing, so
I don't
if I
either.
could speak
And-
with,
and, I can
Dennis,
tell
you
you,
know.
I can tell you that, I didn't go through all of them, but we did an internal audit of our electric.
Okay,
So some of the buildings, we had the wrong rate. You know, there's different rates they charge depending on the size of your building. We had the wrong rate, and so when we changed the rate, it might have changed the meter number. In other instances,
Yeah,
we
there was a
had.
meter missing in one case I saw.
Right, there was a meter missing, there was well, it was a service that had been disconnected.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of those, most of them pertain to exterior lighting.
Oh, when everything was switched over.
So.
When everything was switched over, when they built a new high school, there were 3 lights remaining on poles, but we audited and we were getting billing for like 8 or 9. We were getting billing for 6 or 7 lights in front of home school, and there's one that's in front of our property at our entrance. The other ones are further up and down, they're not our, we were paying, but they're streetlights that the school shouldn't have been paying for. So, not NICEX, to show where I live. Eversource changed them, and you know, there's like a state road, that's the state of Connecticut, DOT is supposed to be.
well, the good news
So,
is
yeah.
we're gonna have at least a year to, this was worth 10 points.
Yes.
That we can get to the bottom of it. We don't
Sure.
want it for this.
Yes,
so-
we're-
So, yeah, it would be
But
good to,
we'll-
if,
we'll
you know,
have-
we've got a couple of weeks, so
Yes.
we can, because it's nice to know that the data is complete, and, you know, when we look at it, we have a solid starting point. So I'd love to get to the bottom of it the next full couple of days if we can.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's not critical to our application. Mike, thank you.
But some of the things we do, just so like, I saw it also, we called the utility company
Okay,
and asked them to give us a reading as of June 30th.
okay,
So we can close out one fiscal year and
Yes.
start the other. So if somebody's looking at an input and they're saying, well, it's not a full bill, it's only, you know, half as big, 60% of what it should be, it's because we split them between June 30th and July 1st. I noticed that as on a couple of the
okay.
questions that he had. I think it's like picking up something that looks abnormal, like why is this like
The
that?
timing
And
difference.
that's why it is, yeah.
Okay,
So I think the issue really is the data, the way we're collecting it, acceptable, sustainable CT for the
Completion of 6 points.
5 or 10 points for the 2019 application.
Yes.
If it is, we can submit it. If not, we would like to understand why, because without getting ahead of
Maybe we should
ourselves.
submit it anyway. Just-
We'd
I
like
did go
for
try to
future.
generate the reports again to see if there was gonna be another response, but, yeah, the criteria or the requirement is it has to be generated off of
Yeah, and then
portfolio
set
management. So, we
automatically.
gotta fix it, you know, we
Yeah.
gotta find where the discrepancies
Do
are.
you want to,
But why don't I wait for my response from Lynn,
okay,
and then
And
see,
call me.
like, and then regenerate the reports and see if any of the things have changed. Because her response was July 23rd, And I've tried to generate the reports since then,
Mm-hmm.
and let's see if anything
Okay.
corrected itself.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Beth, for your persistence on
Thank
this
you,
one.
Ed.
Well, Beth, you have also worked on several of the other pieces that are in or are, are being, postponed to a future application, assuming there is one. Okay, the remaining 3 steps that are in the planned category but have not been uploaded to the application.
I have an update from Carolyn on 2.7.
You wanna give us that one?
Sure. Actually, that's, I've got an update, 2.7, which is provide education on water conservation. Let's see, what did she say? We only get credit for this action item if we can show that through multiple communication channels, water conservation information has been made available. I am still working on finding a website where we can put some of this information. Okay, so I know that with town support, a water conservation seminar was held at the
Is
Nature
going to
Center.
be held.
Is
It's
going to
August
be held.
15th.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
next week. And so we'll have the documentation from that event, but I guess she's gotta find more ways to advertise than just the.
So, over the last several years, you probably know that I and the town has been engaged in extensive education from Aquarian Water Company on water conservation. And we have unlimited amounts of public information at our fingertips through Aquarian. And if it's as simple as linking, hosting some of that information on the town website. If you guys want to advise me on where you think it best should reside, I'm quite sure that in the short term, we can put together a pretty comprehensive section on conservation tips.
I'll relay that back to Carolyn.
The only other 2 are.
Hold on one second.
Oh.
In your recollection on conservation, some of the other things that are in here about water conservation talk about, town policy or ordinance that discusses water conservation or what to do in a drought or the types of restrictions that occur when a drought is declared. Do we have anything like that, or is it more just administrative when necessary?
It's largely driven by the utility company. The only utility company is Aquarian, and their new policies are now mandated policies. So our, for example, our irrigation restrictions
2 days a
are
week,
codified in perpetuity now. It's not just when there's a drought situation. So they've gone to a more stringent requirement on water conservation. But there's
Is some of that already posted without?
it has
noticed multiple
It
times
has
as a
been
citizen.
posted for quite a long time when we became subject to the change in Aquarian's regulations. So I just have to go back
That's
and
this
see
idea
where it
again.
is.
Where do we have it posted somewhere, or
Correct.
where are the Aquarian pages that we would want to link to and that kind of thing?
Yep. Happy to work with you to find all of that information, and through our town liaison, Peter Fazekas, we can get whatever information
Okay.
you want to provide.
And that really, just back to Kendra, there's to get, to qualify for 2.7, we are providing it's 2 parts, 2.71. And then it appears there were requirements to disseminate water conservation educational materials. So that was the second part of this.
Through multiple communication
Through
channels.
multiple communications.
Such
So
as
that's the.
online events and printed materials at the library. So we could have printed materials at the library. That's a fairly low bar. We could get it onto our town website. That's achievable. We're having an event.
Yeah.
That
I
sort
don't
of
think
thing.
that should be any problem though.
Okay.
I would also say, I don't know how we can claim credit for it, but the truth of the matter is there have been innumerable public distributions of
Yeah.
conservation information from Aquarian to all of our water customers in Darien over the last 2 years.
So we have to generally for the whole points diagram, maybe I'm stealing your thunder, but we have to show kind of municipal involvement or cooperation in that process. We
Sure.
can't
Yep,
necessarily
yep.
just take credit for something.
Yep.
So to the extent that there have been joint messaging or things
Yes.
like that, we could definitely take credit for it.
Okay, and should we need to have evidence from Aquarian about our participation? I'm sure that they would be willing to certify
Got it.
that.
Cool. This is, and it's all, so the past action also, which is relevant, so all of these actions have to be within 12 months, the last 12 months. So I know that there were a lot when we were going through the drought 2 years ago. They may not apply now for this application. All right, that's 2.7.
Okay, so that's 2.7 in between Carolyn, who is not here, Kendra, Jamie, I can help communicate, remind everyone of this. We can see where we are with that information. It is, it's, I think the background is that there's a young woman who has worked extremely hard to develop water conservation materials and to be able to present to the community the importance of water conservation as an intern who is doing this as a program with the town and with Aquarian and a number of other organizations. So I think we hopefully will, be able to pull this together.
I think so, yeah.
The only two, and Christine is not here also, 2.1, 2.10 and 3.1 were two, let me just go. There was
Facilitate invasive species education and management is 2.1.
2.10, and there was an outstanding question whether we had fulfilled the requirements. I think a backup is there are many, many things that we do in town that are very, very commendable, but they may not fit exactly the 3 criteria that this application requires. So there is, in my opinion, still an outstanding question on 2.1.0. We may have to leave this for another year because there is a significant amount of information on invasive species management, but the events may have not specifically done it the way that was needed to be done. I know Sustainable CT had said it doesn't qualify, but Christine thought that there was one verification back with the presenter that maybe they did. So I think there's one outstanding question on 2.10. I think you'd said it probably didn't qualify.
Yeah, I remember Christine sending Chad and I a link to, I think it was a Patch article or an online news article about an event where a man came to speak about, it wasn't invasive species, but it was something similar. And we looked through it and the event looked great, but not at all in the article did they mention invasive species, so we didn't think it would qualify.
So that's something Christine has to follow up on. And the last one was 3.1, and I didn't point it out, but that, what is 3.1? 3.1 was map tourism and cultural assets. And she had done that, and it was listed as planned and not complete, but she was just waiting, and I think it might have been with Peter, for some links through town websites as to where the assets are. So according to her, she was just waiting to link some
Complete it.
information.
So she's close on that one and should be able to complete it.
If all of the ones that are outstanding are finished between Carol and Christine, Beth, you and Jeremy and I, that's an additional 55 points, which is well over the threshold of bronze. Yours, Craig, is the only one that is absolutely necessary for certification. The others would all.
I like a little pressure.
Yeah. The others are all things that are in process and hopefully will be completed by August 30th. So I think we're in good shape if those of us that it's August and are going on vacation and whatever can have a deadline of not the 30th, but shortly before the 30th to have this information uploaded. So I think we need to pick a date.
Yeah. How about I call you as soon as 8.1 is uploaded?
Fair enough.
We get together, we click the button.
Fair, and we click the button. It may be close to the 20-something
Yes.
of August.
Yes, and once I get back, I'm around through the other months. So.
Okay, so I think that's where we stand. Kendra, Beth, Ed, all the time you've been spending, maybe it doesn't all make sense. The folks in Human
I think
Services.
it's worth,
Christine,
Human Services, Christine, Carolyn, and Cliff Voorhees, who's not even a member of our committee, but has shown an interest in helping us be more sustainable, has come through with some write-ups and some points and some assistance. It's really been a great effort by a lot of people to put this whole application together.
Once it's in, I think next meeting we should just have on the agenda just what did we learn, and then my recommendation is going to be that we have a debrief with members of the key departments as to what we've learned, what the town has done. I think there's an opportunity to explain what the town has done across these 10 areas, because I think it was very hard for us to wrap our hands around what this was and what the actions were. I think it would be really appropriate to present to
Yes.
various town bodies
Yeah, well,
what
that
the
was-
town has done, and then where we take that
Yeah,
from
what I
in
was
terms of
thinking
practices
on that,
and
so
policies.
what might be appropriate for us to do as an advisory committee, as many other advisory committees do, is kind of develop a consensus on what our recommendations are kind of moving forward, right? If this first part was great to kind of put our flag in the ground and say, we have been doing a lot of good things as a community, and here is our best effort to document those good things that we've been doing. But really, for my involvement, I'm interested in, now that we understand the framework of sustainability across the 9 different categories, how can we take one step more, you know, and do things as a town that are more conscious of that? And so that we might come to you with a list of recommendations that says, you know, here's 10 things that we think it's appropriate for the town to consider doing. And I'll almost do that as a formal report back to you for consideration. Does that make sense, or?
It does. I think the Board of Selectmen and several other town bodies will be very eager to hear the fruits of your labor, the outcome of this. You know, it really isn't, although the distinction is wonderful and hopefully it will give us as a town recognition, but it's about cataloging and categorizing the work that we've done and helping us set a path, just as you said.
Yeah.
So I think the timing is great for sometime early fall to come and report to us, and you know, if there are things that might impact future budgets,
Mhm.
that's the perfect time to bring
Yeah.
it to our attention and let us plan it in.
Yeah, and to that end, kind of the homework assignment, once we get this application in, for our first meeting in September, would be to come in with those ideas like, well, what were the things that we left on the shelf? What were the things that we saw that said, that was a good idea, we should do that? Or what were the things that we were, 1 or 2 action items away from completing, and start to hone in on that group of recommendations.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And as I will pass around, just, you don't have to read the whole thing, but that idea of reflection was asked in the 9.1 equity toolkit. Thank you, Kendra. So to answer the question about 9.1, I wrote and got feedback from Cliff and from Human Services on sort of what we learned, what was hard, what was a challenge. So if you want to look, this is the application point that's not uploaded. I just printed one, and if as you're sitting here, you want to look at kind of my first gut on what we learned relative to the equity toolkit, you can just take a look at it. I didn't print a lot of that, and it'll be on the application shortly.
Can you remind me what the point threshold is for the next level for silver?
400.
400.
400, okay.
But there was, at that point, it was multiple actions in.
It's 400 and then 3 equity toolkits as opposed to 1.
Okay, and then did you have to have more than one in each
No,
category?
that does not change, it's just the point level in the toolkits.
So how does it work? So let's say we submit by the end of August and we are successful in achieving bronze and we've accumulated 250 points. If by next August we think we have another 150 points, do we just submit that 150 and say we got more? Or how does
Right.
that,
So
how does the process
everything,
work from here?
everything on your application that you submit will remain there after submission. So when you pursue the next certification or renewing bronze, it'll all be there when you log on again.
Okay.
You'll have to look in to see if your actions have expired, in which case you're gonna either have to pursue them again or remove them.
And now with the so the expiration is credit for past action. If
Mhm.
that
Exactly.
sunsets, that then falls off the list.
Right, and that won't be removed automatically, that's something you'll have to look into to make sure
Yeah.
it
So
still
you're
fits.
almost, you have to kind of look at your application freshly
Yeah, And there
you-
could
when
be
you
work you've already
resubmit,
done.
yeah,
That will work again.
yeah. Or I
Right.
already know some things that over the course of 1 year are likely to fall off the list.
Right, but then there are some things that don't expire just as long as you prove that it's still actively happening,
Got it.
so.
And some in the area of 8 that we didn't have a year yet of information that would probably roll up in, and we did not even submit this year because we didn't have enough yet.
My thinking, without having the benefit of discussion about it, was that if we were gonna make recommendations in the fall, and if some of those required to be planned for in the budget, and then the new calendar budget year doesn't really start until next July, and then those things have to be implemented and up and running and documented before you come around and then get credit for them to file a new application, is that, you know, filing in a year from now to try to get to silver is unlikely. That we would be looking at, you know, a new application in 2 or 3 years to get credit for another slug of work, another completed action. So that's kind of,
Unless there are things, as Kathy just said, that you've, you know, held on the shelf that can
Yeah.
be worked on
Yep.
before next August. I guess my general question, maybe for another time for Kendra, is I would assume that the goal is for cities and towns to participate and succeed. Right, that's the ultimate
Ideally,
goal.
yeah.
So, you know, hopefully the program itself encourages through being able to hang on to the good work that you've done, rather than have too many things fall away, you know, unless it was only a one-time only program. I understand the, no pun intended, this sustainable nature of programming, but you don't want cities and towns to be discouraged
Mhm.
by,
Right.
you know.
And certifications last 3 years, so no promises, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna get bronze. So if you're awarded that, you have those 3 years where you'll still have that recognition. And hopefully during that time, you'll be able to plan for silver. And I actually think in 2021 or 2022, they're going to release a gold standard as well, which is another thing to consider for the future.
Good, okay.
Michael, I got you here.
Yes, sir.
I heard that our solar projects got somewhat derailed or delayed. Is there any
Only
update on
totally.
that? What's that?
Only totally. We had to get a roof repair done at Ox Ridge that has solar panels on it.
Yeah,
And so I had to get some of the panels removed.
yeah.
And I said to myself, I said, gee, I wonder what it's gonna cost to remove all the solar panels from Tokenique, because the roof's 11 years old.
Oh, it is lovely.
And partway through the project, they're gonna have to come off the roof. Well, the cost, they were very evasive at first, and then when I finally did get a price from them, the cost to remove the solar panels and reinstall them was more money than we were projected to save.
Through the life of the program.
Right, through the life of the program. And so we had a meeting to discuss that issue. And I sort of thought they would not take the tack they took, but their solution was for us to extend the commitment 5 or 10 years,
Oh, so the
so
same.
we could show a profit.
Yeah,
And I said, how could I, in good conscience, try to convince my board to, you know, it's gonna be out of date when it's ready to come off in 20 years. I can't tell them to keep it on longer to try to make a few dollars, maybe, when
So
there'll
you-
be so many better opportunities. So, we had never signed a contract with them. But when this discussion was going on, they loaded all the equipment onto the property at Tokenique.
Oh, wow.
So I let my boss know that I think somebody's trying to pressure us. And so we just told them, you gotta get your stuff off the property. We don't have an agreement. We haven't signed an agreement yet. And then what happened was the superintendent left, and so did the finance director. I said, so it's gonna be a couple months before somebody can sign an agreement anyway. So, you know, they removed the stuff last week. They took the last of the struts and pieces out of, they've been here since April.
Oh,
at
wow.
Tokenique School. And a lot of instances, the cardboard packing had rotted away and stuff. So
Not
I'm going to
good.
go over, the Board of Ed has
Yeah.
voted to go forward with a program with the town. So I have to talk to the new superintendent and the finance director. He starts
Kind
and
of
kind of say,
project a
let's,
plan for what we
yeah,
want
let's,
to do and how
we gotta get a
do
better
it.
plan going
Yeah.
than the one that was reached before.
Yeah.
How do we wanna do this? And, we do have the roof at central office, which was supposed to be the second building done. That is probably 95%, 98% complete. And then homeschool, we're supposed to do that roof next summer. So,
And when you say, in that sense, do that roof means replacing the roof membranes, the roof tiles and things? Or-
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
And then that would mean that you feel comfortable putting a PV system up there because you're unlikely to have to do a wholesale repair before the life of the system is up.
Right, you would have to do minor repairs here and
Yeah.
there, which,
They're usually okay with that sort of thing, minor repairs.
well, they'll charge you to,
Yeah.
remove, they gotta de-energize, remove a few panels. It takes a
Yeah.
couple guys a day or two,
Yeah.
it's not a freebie.
Yeah.
But the other issue becomes, what happens with your roof warranty?
Is that an issue?
Yes. It's tied into the fastening system that the company putting the panels up uses to mount. I
Yeah,
mean-
the other ones that we did were all gravity based, so they're.
Right, they're gravity based, but they have a
pan.
pan with ballast in it.
Yeah.
They usually have no issue at all with that
Yeah.
type of a installation. But some of the buildings they were looking at doing for us, like homeschool, like central
Oh, had some
office,
slopes or.
slope surface with,
Interesting, yeah. Okay.
shingles.
Yeah,
So it's a little more complicated,
yeah.
and it's not easy to get an answer from NCON on, it took probably a month of phone calls and emails to get somebody to respond to the stuff being at Tokenie.
If we're, unhappy with their performance, and, I have some suspicions as well, only because I think technically our first three aren't even turned on yet because of paperwork, which is unfortunate. We did have a second responsible bidder
Yes.
that we could go back to.
And there was a guy that, a vendor that called me. He has a solar, he just called me out of the blue. He actually, there's a guy with my name who's the facility director at Naugatuck Schools. And he thought he was calling that guy. He has a solar
This is the
panel.
third doppelganger I've heard of today.
It had a solar panel field
Yep,
up in the Torrington area.
where you have land.
Yes, we have lots of land, and it's an alternative to putting panels on your building. You buy the electric credits.
Yes, buying credits is always an option.
And,
Yep.
and so the kilowatt hour cost, he sent me some information, I just got it the other day.
Mhm.
But the kilowatt hour cost is comparable to what we're paying for electricity from the solar panels at Oxbridge and the high school.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so there might be a whole different thing that doesn't have any sort of negative impact on the school buildings. And then there's also, I know Jamie, you know Rusty Schreiner, he's on the Oxbridge Building Committee. So I've been,
Bouncing ideas by him.
yeah, he's pretty much a recognized expert on solar panel and solar electricity. So I told him I'm gonna come to him with a whole big list of questions
Yeah.
before I advise anybody to sign anything. It's sure, no problem.
Well, I appreciate your continued interest and effort, obviously. If we can do it in a way that certainly saves us money, at the very least, and doesn't tie our hands on our facilities, you know. At least as a committee, we're all for it.
Yeah, I think, you know, the big sticking point is when you put something in that you sign an energy type commitment for 20 years. You know, by the time you look at something that's energy producing, you know, a boiler, a car engine, you know, a light bulb, they're so out of date after 20 years that, you know, it's hard to.
My understanding on that, and that may be true 20 years from now, going forward with technology coming online, but the panels that many people are using now have already been around for 20 years, and they seem to hold their production capacity pretty well.
Right, no, I mean, it comes to, you know, more power per square foot of panel.
80 watt panels, a 200 watt panel.
Right, and how much, you know, what the UV index is that will generate the electricity, you know, in a lot of places that fluctuates. I did a solar array in 92 at a school building. The New York Power Authority wanted to try solar panels on a variety of buildings, and for some reason they picked White Plains High School as the public school building in New York. They did a prison, they did a shopping center, they did all kinds of buildings. They did my building. They put an array of solar panels that would match what's on this building here, and I got enough electricity out of there to, according to the people, the engineers, that I could run Mr. Coffee Maker. So I know they've come a long way since then, you know, but where are they going to be in 30 years from now?
Yeah.
You know, do I want to have a 30-year commitment now? I don't know. So
Well, yeah, 30 seems like a long time.
it would be nice if there was
15
a
or
way,
20 was a little
but
more
nobody
tolerable.
does it. But it would be nice if there was a way to get a commitment that includes an update.
I
Yeah.
agree with that.
You know, an audit, you know, a
But
7 or
also-
8 year audit, and say, okay, you know what, we can do better for you guys and us.
I talked to Solar City when it was more popular, talking to them about my house once, and they put in their contract the ability to come out and change the panels if new technology came along and they wanted to get more power out.
Does it extend your contract or no?
I don't remember the specifics of the
Yeah.
detail. I didn't think it did, but
That's a good contract.
yeah, it was like, basically they figured, since they were trying to structure the contract so it was a win for everybody, right? I was winning because I was saving more, they were winning because they were making some profit, and they felt like, if we have the technology to come in and up our profit and help your savings at the same time, we want the ability to go do that, you know, when we want to.
Mhm.
It's an interesting clause in the contract, but, yeah, I mean, I think for these third-party designer installers, they aren't the owners or the operators, so they don't care about really the profit or the savings. They care about doing the job, so to speak. Whereas
Their revenue source.
yeah, whereas, you know, as a homeowner, since I have the ability to have my own tax deductions, I could, you know, it was just me as the operator and the owner of the system, basically, in that contract. So that's why maybe it was in there. Well, this is good. I love this conversation. It's a great conversation to have. Let me go back to my agenda digitally. See where we are. Did you have, before we might leave sustainable CT now, did you have any further comments you wanted to share now, or did you want to kind of write something and send it in?
Chad and I briefly discussed kind of our final recommendations, but I think before Chad leaves next week, he'll send along a
Okay.
written copy as well.
So we'll expect that.
But
That's great.
yeah, we were just trying to think of aspects of the summer and the committee that worked really well. And the first thing that we thought of was the subcommittee forming and meeting weekly.
Yeah.
Really kept those people on top of things, and I
Yeah.
think sped up the process because there was
Instead of waiting a month. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the future, potentially meeting more often, just on sustainable CT could help. It was really beneficial. I think that Darien has a larger team than most towns that we're working with working on their application. and most people on the team were really dedicated, which was fantastic. I also think it's really beneficial that when we came to meet with you guys, you were already aware of the program, you had been working on your actions, you had been identifying what ones you wanted to pursue. So kind of that prep ahead of time was helpful.
We had already created a level of frustration.
Yes.
Yes.
You hit the ground running.
I'll be over.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We appreciated the strong leadership in the team as well, Greg and Catherine especially, and the organization that was regular, kept everyone else on track.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming away.
Send me an email. Yeah.
Thank you.
And yeah, that was our kind of plan this year, and then for the next time, we think, since now you've kind of hit the baseline, you've identified mostly what you've already done, and pursued a few more things, the next round will be more pursuing new things, so we recommend that you start doing that earlier, because some of the actions, especially the ones that will get you up to 400, take a little more work and time. So obviously you don't have to go right at it once you're past the point, but
I mean,
start looking into it sooner than later.
I appreciate the comment. I mean, we are a standing committee, at least until December when we ask for re-up or not. And I think we're all in this room because we would like Darien to become a more sustainable community. So to the extent that our efforts can assist that, I think we're going to be here using some of this as a guide.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Have fun at Block Cabin in Ontario.
Thank you.
Back at school.
Yes.
All right, back to the agenda. Okay, so item 3 is 3A is food scrap recycling. I do have a quick update from Carolyn on that too. I have to go back to my inbox. This is a little annoying. Carolyn. Okay, fruit scrap. The program continues to function well. I happened to run into curbside compost today and asked about contamination and was told that our material is pretty clean. Cindy is still compiling tonnages collected for the month of July, but for fiscal year 19, which was mid-October, not the whole year, mid-October through June 30th, 24 tons were diverted from our municipal solid waste. That's pretty good. Oh, this was an interesting question from Carolyn. So she continues under the, we have a Facebook page and a Twitter feed under the name Darien Recycling Center. And she continues to post to it 2 to 3 times a week. Sometimes we go beyond just recycling into, sustainable concepts. And so her question is, what should we do about that? Should we maintain the name Darien Recycling Center? Should it be changed? Is it okay to use the Darien Recycling Center platform to cover more sustainable posts? So I thought that was an interesting question that I don't necessarily have an answer for. Because I think, a Darien Recycling Center Facebook page and Twitter feed has a role for town government to get out information, right? So I wouldn't mind, and not that I'm asking for this, but I wouldn't mind if over time Cindy or Tamara or someone in your department, had the ability to make their own posts to those as you're disseminating information. We're closed, or we're now accepting this, or please don't put plastic bags in, or that. It seems like that's an appropriate town function. So it's weird if we change to this kind of sustainable concept, then it kind of stays in this committee and talks big picture about everything and is not entirely disseminating information about a particular facility, In terms of conversation, I know I'm throwing this out.
Thanks again, everyone.
All right, thank you, Kendra.
Thank you.
Have a nice rest of your summer.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Well, anyway, I need something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that it's there. I think it should be used more as a broader
communication tool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in the short term, we are taking some creative license to insert not specifically recycling content on there, as in the same vein. But I think we're also a little bit handicapped from not like fully talking about all of this on a recycling center page. So, but then the idea of splitting it and all the work we've done to get a couple hundred followers, you know, kind of messes it up. You know, I'm not looking forward to that. So.
I think one of the things that comes loud and clear through the sustainable CT application process is the use of communication.
Yeah.
And again, for a later time, communication via social media, communication
Yeah.
on the town website, where on the town website things might have to go 6, steps down to find something.
Sure.
And so the idea of how things get communicated and disseminated, I think, is open for conversation.
Yeah, there's something. Isn't there a task item?
There are many that say communicate.
No. But there's one that is specifically like evaluate communication channels or something like that. And maybe that's one of the first ones we complete and get a sense for, how should we be communicating this stuff.
Well,
And-
couldn't Caroline just put the link right to the website to the Public Works?
Well, and many times she does, but with social media, it's about an active presence and new content, and it's if you're not there, kind of in people's feeds, you're not there.
And a perfect example is the water conservation seminar, and Jamie is going to welcome our intern or fellow who's been doing this, getting the word out through Carolyn, who's been working with them. Her platform has been their Darien Recycling Center, but the watershed event is with our committee, but not necessarily related to the recycling center. So who communicates what, where, and what, how do you get to them? In reality, it's how do you get to the maximum amount of people to inform.
Yes, and that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, so there is some conversation about, I think Carolyn's right on, should we write about the farmer's market or water conservation or whatever, is that, that's not in the purview.
Or who should be writing about it, right?
Exactly.
Where is the best place to come out of, right?
And
Is it
and then
is it the
where's
first
the
selections
maximum
feed?
exposure?
Is it the town
Exactly.
whatever's feed? Is it, how does it, how do
Yes,
you get, or is
exactly.
it do we have, as each department has their own kind of space on the town website, is there kind of the sustainability page,
Yeah.
that pulls some of those things together or cross-links them?
I'm sure she clearly doesn't want to overstep her bounds with some of the things,
Yeah,
like the.
we are
fund.
sensitive to our responsibility in that it is a Darien Recycling Center page.
Yes, exactly, that's what I was trying to say.
But we are taking some creative license.
I think so.
Well, there's always gonna be things that are germane to that
Idea.
facility.
Yeah, yes.
And those go,
And the work that you guys have done on certain things within that facility, right? But from to communicate to a larger audience with other information, some departments have social media feeds, I think namely Parks and Rec and Buildings Department.
Yeah.
I don't know do you guys have one? Do you have one that's widely used for Public Works? No. So, but we have a generic one for the town of Darien.
Mm.
And one of our challenges is that's Kate. Kate posts things to the town of Darien. So if somebody sends her something on water conservation, she'd be happy to post it on the town's Twitter feed.
It's actually helpful to her because it's hard to come up with content consistently.
Well, she's not the content producer necessarily.
She's just
We
the
have
gatekeeper, if you will.
We have very decentralized content production, and we don't have a webmaster or a social media master.
Yeah.
I don't foresee us having one of those in the near term, but we do have that town channel available, so if anybody wants to send content to
Okay.
her,
That's a great idea.
which is happy to do that, and then that gets shared, right?
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's maybe a broader,
Yeah, I mean,
Broader reach,
and more
which is getting
consistent,
back to-
broader and more consistent,
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we tried to make sure, like, I don't have a first selectman page
Yeah.
because we wanted to keep it concentrated in the town of Darien. So-
Yeah, institutional,
Exactly.
like it carries over with each administration and, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry, I have a 1:30
No, thank you
meeting,
so much for coming, we really
Yeah,
appreciate
no.
it. and
You guys
appreciate
did an
your
awesome
support.
job, I mean, I know that you spend a lot of time, but it seems like in short order, you've put together
I was
an
actually shocked
amazing
that we did it.
application.
I don't wanna say we did it yet, but we're on the
And I-
It
cusp.
sounds very hopeful, I
Yeah.
really
It sounds hopeful. I do believe there is a lot that our town departments and town managers and select people
They
will be
deserve a lot of credit.
really interested in knowing, because
Sure.
collecting what we've collected from disparate sources within and without of the town government, I mean, it's endless.
Yeah,
And
you know,
I really believe we
it's
only
like-
scratched the surface. We didn't even really work with the school department if we,
Yeah, we did, yeah.
so.
Yep, I'm really eager to hear your final report. And I'm also eager to hear your recommendations for going forward. It's
Great.
very exciting. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your efforts.
You're welcome.
Before we break up, anything report on the police station, any progress on that front?
The next Monday, we're meeting with the chief and the new chief and our HVAC consultant to go through
Okay.
so I can put together a plan for capital work or capital budget, depending on what we, and how we'd like to go out.
Do you have the recommendations back, or?
Yeah, we got them back about 3 months ago.
Okay,
We went through them with them about 2 months ago, and it's just been trying to get
so
everybody.
it's getting everybody on the same page, selecting the ones you wanna move forward to, getting them in the police station budget for the next year.
And the big one was the control system, and that control system to be repurchased and instituted is going to be a capital expense.
Yeah.
Not
And
really- not
what
nearly
would a
6
new
figures.
control system do that the old one does not?
Give us better control over all of the dampers, all the
More centralized ability?
humidity controls, we have negative pressures in the building, it kind of will monitor
It's
and
a,
manage it.
it's a smarter system than,
I kind of think it gives us a lot more control,
yeah,
which they don't allow us to have right now.
which is nice, because there's sections of the building that go unused for periods of time.
Okay, and some that are used 24/7
Yeah,
that need to
that's
be
safe.
monitored and adjusted, gives us a little more latitude.
Let me just see, I think we're all set with the agenda, but let me check. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the agenda. Anything else, I missed, or you wanna mention?
I'm good.
You're good, okay. So really the follow-up between now and our next meeting is gonna be, when 8.1 is completed, I'll give you a call and we'll
Hit the button.
figure out when to hit the button.
And
The
Beth
button.
will, and Beth has her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will,
everybody has
I
to-
will, she gave me the
Six something.
emails and I'm gonna explain.
I'm
to you.
constantly, you know, it should be easy. Well, moving forward, we're switching everything to gas.
Right.
So theoretically, as long as the right meter numbers
Yeah.
are
Gotcha.
on
It
there,
looks like he went through it,
Yeah.
it just, I think it's on the generation part,
Yeah.
on me generating the report.
Yeah.
And why I can't talk to somebody, but I get a response.
But it should be, I mean, now that we're off of oil, that was the hardest thing to log and
Right.
track. Now that, so now that that's, I think, all gone. Do you buy any oil? No, and I think the last 2 or 3 buildings are going gas, like,
When-
as we
You
speak.
may go dual fuel, you gotta
Oh,
be
okay,
careful.
okay.
He's a proponent of that, and I am too, but I'm not set up for it, he is in some of the schools. So he may buy oil over time depending on,
Got it.
I think he's gonna gear towards gas as the primary.
Yeah, interesting. But, why put all your eggs in one basket and the market shifts and then.
That was his comment. I haven't seen the shift big enough to make me start thinking about that again.
Yeah.
But his buildings were set up already for that.
Yeah, got it. Anyway, so I would love to know it's right,
Yep,
right?
and I will find
And then it's
out.
such a tool.
It probably won't be
Moving
till
forward.
next week,
Yeah.
so it might not be on this application.
And then whatever we learn, I guess, Tony, last name,
Campanella,
Tony Campanella, who's kind of our new, who's his title?
facility supervisor.
Facility supervisor is interested in understanding portfolio manager so that
We've
he
got to
can
get
use it.
Pat's name off of the contact on the town, it's still there.
Yeah, and then you would put Tony's in, I think.
It's popping up different places. I
Okay.
move it and change it whenever I see it come up.
Okay.
So anything, whatever we learn, we want to transfer that knowledge to DPW and Tony and
Let us build off of that, so.
Yeah. All right,